So for spring-summer 2018 with Spezial, we went back to the drawing board that we always go back to with every collection. Old Adidas catalogues, the Adidas archive in Germany, my own personal archive, and start looking through there to try and get ideas for some kind of story that can underpin the collection. With it being 2018, it was the 30th anniversary of the second summer of Love and Acid House, and it felt like an interesting story to tell because Adidas had such a relevance within that subculture. With the footwear collection, it was the usual challenge, which is trying not to make a collection that's one-dimensional, trying to do something that appeals to a number of different audiences. We try to create new products within the confines of a certain aesthetic. You know, the aesthetic that I personally am in love with from Adidas is from the kind of 70s through the 80s. You know, when the trefoil was kind of at its height, I guess, before the 90s, when the logos kind of started changing. And I wanted to get a mix of, putting a couple of iconic shoes in there. So, for example, the Columbia and the ZX280, but then, offsetting that against kind of new hybrids that are based on old archive products that have been kind of tweaked to create something new, basically. So where to start? First drop. This beauty, the Glenbook SPZL. This is an important shoe to the collection because if you're going to tell an Adidas story, it's impossible to tell that story without talking about Adidas running shoes. Running shoes were the best thing to wear if you were going to go out all night dancing. These, I think, date from probably earlier than 1988. They look more like a mid-80s shoe. But the thing I found particularly interesting about this shoe was this lip here, which we've managed to reflect in the reissue. This lip is it's an interesting story because a lot of the webbing shoes from the 80s, things like the Oregon or the Web, you sometimes see this on them. And the reason for this lip is because of a thing that they used to do when they were manufacturing shoes in the 80s called grouping. What that was, a lot of shoes were made under license in different countries. To save money in the manufacturing process, they would make less molds. So if they got like a size 8 tooling, they would use that tooling for a 7, a 7.5, and an 8. So consequently, if you bought a size 7 shoe, often it was on a size 8 sole, so you would end up with this kind of gap and this ledge around the edge of the shoe. And I've never seen it recreated on an archive reissue shoe before, and it's one of those kind of weird little quirks that I wanted to try and reproduce because aesthetically, whilst it was a cost-saving exercise, I actually think it looks really beautiful and it just gives the shoe, I don't know, a slightly more authentic feel. So the running shoe is an important part of the kind of storytelling. And then this bad boy was the other colourway of it. We decided we wanted to do it in 2 colourways, and this one is very deliberately produced in this kind of almost like a, what's the word, a homage to late 80s torsion styles. I used to wear a shoe called the ZX 5020, which was a girl's running shoe at the time, or a lady's running shoe, and it was grey with pink stripes and a blue midsole. So this shoe it's a particular storyteller for the collection, I guess. The Hulton Spezial. Again, this was taken from a bizarre archive shoe. This was done on this kind of almost like Commander style tooling, but we decided to go for a more classic Samba tooling with a slightly translucent gum. The biggest challenge with this shoe was the fact it's made of nylon, and it's getting the balance between an authentic reproduction of the upper and what would actually work in, I don't know, in 2018. We ended up having to back the nylon upper, because on this original shoe, it's just one layer of nylon. And when we tried to reproduce that, it just ended up looking really wavy. We just felt we were leaving ourselves wide open for criticism about the quality of the shoe in trying to be as archival and authentic as we possibly could. So, you know, we had to make a call on that, and we decided to back the nylon. You know, you've got this kind of suede tongue, but the upper pattern's not dissimilar to the original, but when you change the tooling, then that means you have to make tweaks to the pattern and the specs. By no means were we looking to do this as a one-to-one. These stripes have got this kind of woolly finish to them. We decided to go for this tape instead. So looking inside the shoe, you've got this all-over print on the footbed, but the other thing you've got in here is this gold sticker, which was based on the sizing stickers that they would put in archive shoes. One of the big discussions we had was about the mod trefoil graphic, which has become integral to Spezial's identity. For now, we felt like it was a nice compromise to just use it on the sizing stickers. Whether we'll use it on the outer of a shoe in the future, that's still a question that's ongoing. We've got the Adidas Padium SPZL. With the gum sole flat suede upper shoes, it's finding a way to get differentiation within that. City shoes have become incredibly popular nowadays. You know, to me, they're far more popular than they ever were first time around. You know, a lot of city shoes that I don't even remember seeing in the UK first time around. So we looked at some of the Japanese catalogues, we looked at some of the AS series, and because it's a summer range, we thought about just making these vent holes slightly bigger than you would ordinarily get. You've got this flocking on the stripes, which is an incredibly authentic feature. One of the discussions that we had a lot of back and forth on was the depth of the toe box. I'm just like, move the eye stay further forward, move the eye stay further forward, and the guys in Germany are like, slow down with the eye stay, like, you know, and we were kind of running out of space at the front of the shoe, but I love this kind of almost this really stubby look here. You know, for me, it's something I do with a lot of Spezial shoes. I'm constantly trying to push this eye stay as far forward as I can without it looking odd. The colour of this shoe, again, was to support the apparel and support the story that we're trying to tell. It's not an OG colourway, but it's something that could have very easily been an OG colourway at that time. So here I've got the indoor sport. This was an inspiration for the shoe that became the indoor Creft Spezial. Most of the features of this shoe have been kind of reproduced one-to-one. Slight difference on the eye stay, and a deliberate difference was we moved the eye stay slightly forward because I felt the distance here. It was kind of setting the eye stay back a little bit further than I just thought it could look a little bit nicer with a few millimeters further forward. But on the whole, it's pretty much one-to-one by that. You know, even things like inside the shoe as well, we've gone for this. It's a different graphic execution on the footbed than we've done with on some of the other styles, but that was again inspired by the original shoe.